So you want to go long, I mean really long, on your bike. Hey everyone, it's Graeme Street. You're joining me here on cyclecore.com or on my YouTube channel. And as promised today, I've got a lot of rider and listener Q&A concerning going long, not just on your road bike, but potentially on your gravel or touring bike, mountain bike, single speed, whatever it may be. One of the things I like about endurance is that it's not just a way to challenge ourselves physically. To me, what endurance riding really represents is a way to challenge yourself mentally. It's just as much of a strategy as it is a physical challenge. And I like that because I'm not really designed to go long very well. My body type just wasn't built that way. So I've had to really retrain how I was designed over the past several years. And one of the things I've found that's of great benefit and value to me is that I can really find new ways to communicate with myself when I get in that true endurance fatigued state. It's nice to kind of take a break from our normal lives and get the benefits of riding other than just high-end performance. Now, I got a lot of great stuff that's in here from beginner all the way through advanced level endurance riding. I'm going to go as fast as I can. Obviously, many of you know that I don't do that very well. First one is coming in from Eric. Eric's new to cycling the past 2 years. He writes in, Graeme, I want to complete my first century coming up in August. I have limited time to ride during the weeks. However, I have time to fit in one long ride on the weekends. How many miles do I need to ride on those longer rides to complete the century, and how do I pace myself? Great questions. First of all, the first thing I want to point out is instead of worried about miles, I know it's a 100-miler, start to think about it as time. How much time on the bike, not just per ride, but per week, do you need to accumulate to have your body strong enough to resist the fatigue of the course? Okay, that's the most important way to think about it. Whether you accumulate that fatigue in 1 or 2 rides per week or in 5 rides per week is irrelevant. Your body wants to experience the fatigue in advance because when it experiences fatigue, it forces itself to get stronger. That adaptation is what we consider fitness. So your fitness is in relation to how much stress you apply to it. In general, the antiquated way is to go out and ride more and more miles, longer miles. And we need to do that for most riders as long as the fundamental base of strength and fitness is there. So for me, when I work with a customer, whether it's Cyclo 90 or a premium membership or whatever it is, the most important thing that I'm looking for is to make sure that the fundamentals are there. So pedal stroke is high, body position is good, the core control is there. If these areas are covered, muscular endurance is addressed weekly in your training. If these things are high or they're in good control in your training, then the endurance becomes the easy part. For me, endurance is always last on the list. And the reason why is that endurance is moot if you have weak links. So if you have weak links at the hour marker or 2-hour marker, then trying to ride for 6 or 7 hours at a sustainable pace is not going to happen. So we need to cover our bets early and then move into endurance late. As far as your long rides go, let's say that you estimated your first century between 6 and 7 hours to finish would be a reasonable amount of time and pace. That's about what, 15 to 16 miles per hour pace. Again, you'd have to compute that based on the course and based on your fitness. And you can take guesses. It doesn't have to be exact. You'd want to build up your time on the bike for the longer rides between 4, potentially up to 5 hours for those long rides. So you want to build it on a timeline. Start with maybe, an hour and a half on a Saturday, the next Saturday an hour and, 45 minutes or 2 hours, so on and so forth down the line until you can accumulate about 4 to 5 hours. You don't have to achieve the distance or time given to do an event. And that's even for seasoned riders. If I'm training for a century plus, am I out there riding centuries in my training? Very rarely, if ever. And the reason why is I don't need to. And the reason why is that I can accumulate the same level of fatigue over multiple shorter rides with higher intensity or more specific drills that allow me to bridge into the endurance level riding. And that's the real secret ingredient of good training, is to make sure that your body is able to withstand that fatigue. Whether, again, you've practiced that in 1 ride or in 10 rides, your body doesn't really care. It wants to experience the fatigue. Now, there is advantages at time to pile all that fatigue into 1 ride a couple times per month. It doesn't have to be every week. I see some endurance riders, every ride is an endurance ride. It's like, look, you're not balancing yourself out. You want to go and do a tough course, riding, 40 to 60 miles every day, 6 days a week. You're not covering your bets. There's a lot better way to do that by breaking yourself down with higher intensity, moderate technique work, and then applying that into your endurance. Those of you that are more seasoned, like myself, consider building that into multiple days in a row of 2 to 4 hours. So this is where my Cycle 90 Endurance in-season plan comes handy, and a really tough plan is that I take, instead of crash coursing you with these super long training rides, I'll have 2 or 3 really hard rides in a row at about half that timeline. So it might seem easier, well, hey, I can do 2 or 3 hours today, but it's going to be a tough 2 or 3 hours, and more importantly, I've got another tough 2 or 3 hours tomorrow with very limited recovery. And it's that stress response that leads to more physical gain. As a newcomer to cycling, you want to use a little bit of both of those strategies. So during the week, your HIIT sessions, your moderate technique work, your auxiliary work off the bike with CycleCore or otherwise, is to build the framework to withstand the longer ride. So all the training is designed to help you withstand the fatigue of the longer ride. So thinking about it that way, I think it'll make a lot of difference in your training. I hope that's helpful. Darren writes in, training for the double, triple bypass, 5 weeks away, give or take. This might have come in from last week. I've loosely used your master's program, he says. Should I continue to use that or move to your endurance in-season plan? I get this question a lot. I know a lot of you are following my master's program, which, you know, I call it a base program, but bottom line, you can use it any time of year to gain strength and fitness, regardless of the course. Muscular endurance is muscular endurance. Pedal technique is pedal technique. I don't care if you're a roadie, mountain biker, gravel grinder, it's all the same. The only difference is the specificity and timetables on the bike as you get closer and closer to your event. In the case of the double, triple bypass, so the triple bypass is from Evergreen, Colorado to Avon. I've done it before. It's a 120 some odd mile ride. It's 100, you know, it's 12, 15,000 feet of vertical gain, starting at 8,000 feet and going up to 12,000 feet almost over Loveland. It's a monster course, and one that can eat you alive. For sure, and he wants to do it back to back. So he's going one way to Avon, then turns around the next day, comes back. What does he need for his training? A prayer. It's what he needs. I've had customers that I've trained for before for the double, triple. It's going to be tough. The most important thing, of course, is getting your body to deal with recovery. So I'm assuming, Darren, you didn't mention here, but I'm assuming that you've done the triple before, and you're going now to try to do it as the double, triple. The most important thing is fatigue accumulation. So the endurance in-season plan is probably the best choice, although you could still continue on with Masters. You're going to have to add a lot of extension rides to Masters to do that, and although you can do that, the endurance plan is going to be more suited specifically for lots of fatigue. So it's a 4-week plan. You could start it today, quite literally. The first 3 weeks are going to just beat the snot out of you with getting your body broken down. Remember, to gain extreme levels of fitness, we have to break your body down to extreme levels. This is a misnomer from a lot of people that ride their bike. They think that their training is designed to help them feel better. The real purpose of good training, ironically, is to make you feel temporarily worse. Training is designed to break you down. And then from that breakdown, your body learns and it resituates itself internally to deal with potentially that future fatigue. And this is how your body begins to learn how to resist fatigue for something like the triple bypass or the double, triple bypass. Go to my new Cyclo Zen coaching, Darren, and the Cyclo 90 Masters coaching. A lot of those tips concerning depletion rides, post-ride recovery, in-ride recovery, those things you want to be beginning to incorporate into your training ASAP. So you can use the in-season endurance plan for that, and then you can use the tips and techniques from that coach. And the bottom line is you have to train your body in the next 5 weeks to recover from 2 hard rides in a row, okay? And you need to repeat that for at least the next 3 weeks before you get there. So for all of you headed to an event, it doesn't have to be the double, triple bypass. It can just be a one-day event. The reason why we use multiple days in a row is to teach your body how to recover quicker between longer, harder efforts, okay? And because really all an endurance ride is multiple, hard, sustainable efforts in a row. 10 of them in a row, 20 of them in a row, 50 of them in a row. It depends on the course. I mean, I've been on courses. I've got one this weekend that'll be 70 miles long, not very long, not lots of climbing, but this is the expected pace on this gravel bike is going to be about 12 miles an hour. And the course is tough. I mean, I've pre-ridden it and I got my ass handed to me. And one of the reasons why is I was not aware of just how multi-dimensional the course was going to be. Single track, jeep track, double track, road. I mean, you've got a plethora of different challenges. And in advance, you want your body to be able to withstand that variety of challenges in multiple segments. So I had certain segments that were 10 minutes long, 20 minutes long, 30 minutes long, in different challenges, different types of challenges. And because of that, your body is confused. We want to confuse it before we get there. So if you try to build enough fitness to say, I'm going to go and crush the double, triple bypass, you're not going to. You want to build enough fatigue resistance to build up a defense wall to have the course break you down less than it normally would. And this is how I think about endurance. I don't think about how long I can go. I think about how long I can resist. How long can I resist you, the course, fighting me? And that's really what it is. So if you want to really think about your cycling in a more philosophical way, go read Sun Tzu and The Art of War. Every battle is won or lost before the battle begins. When you step onto a course that's tough and challenging, you're going to have a war. And you want to be the winner of that war before it even begins. And the way you do that is you build enough defenses, enough fatigue resistance, and enough discipline of strategy, both mentally and physically, to take on the unexpected. This is one other quick thing I want to do before I move forward. When you're doing a tough endurance ride, or you have one coming up, you want to make it known to your body and to your brain that we're going to hit problems. Okay? It's going to happen. Big Tim, my buddy here that I trained with for the Dirty Cons at 200, he just finished it. Man, they had an epic day. He had, I think, 6 flat tires. He had 2 crashes. They had mud waist high on the course. It took him 17 hours to do the DK 200. This thing was epic. I mean, we had pro riders dropping out of this course, okay? In advance, he had done rides with me and in his training that put him at disadvantages. He had already practiced going through 4 flats on a course. He'd already gone through the mental anguish of going 11 miles an hour, okay, for 17 hours. It's a long time to go that slow, okay? If you've never done it before, try it. It is mental warping in your brain. So that preparation for that is pivotal. And you want to teach your body to deal with those obstacles, because the best you can hope for is you do a course, you get strong enough and fit enough, and then presto, life gets in the way, lady luck gets in the way, which on a tough course is almost inevitable, and you have to deal with those obstacles. And these aren't physical obstacles, they're mental obstacles that will have an impact on your physicality. Practice those things in advance. In relation to that, Justin writes in, Graeme, I'm training for Shenandoah 100. And Justin, it's ironic, I'm actually considering going to Shenandoah. I'm a Virginian, so I'm going to head back down there. This is a tough 100-miler. He's a roadie by nature, he says. This will be his first endurance mountain bike event. He wants to know, Graeme, I can only get on my trails 1 to 2 times per week. How much trail riding do I need to do an event like this, and how does my training differ from my road? First of all, if you're training for an endurance mountain bike event, endurance is endurance, to be quite frank, in a loose term. So muscular endurance on the bike, sustainability of zone 3, I can use any bike that I want in my arsenal. I recommend if you have multiple types of bikes, use multiple types of bikes in your training. Use your gravel bike, use your cross bike, use your road bike, use your mountain bike. Rotate these suckers. That keeps you stimulated mentally. And if you're really focused on the fundamentals of your training, then you're going to get a lot out of it. I know if I'm training for a mountain bike specific event like the VT50 or a 100-miler, am I using my road bike or gravel bike? Hell yeah, I am. Getting on the trails 5 days a week, 6 days a week is not going to happen. Nor would I want it to. I wouldn't want to be on my trails 5 or 6 days a week. I wouldn't want to be. So I rotate between the two. As long as I'm covering my bets with endurance and muscular endurance using whatever bike I want. And then during the week, you're using those 1 to 2 times or opportunities to work on specificity. So where mountain biking really differs is the specificity of adding technical skills, which have to be practiced, not taught. So you have to get out there and go, you have to get your knocks. You have to, get knocked off the bike. You have to make mistakes. You have to run into trees. You have to follow riders that have much better lines and instincts than you do on a trail. One tip I got for you, Justin, in relation to a mountain bike endurance event is the conservation of energy. It's important on all events for endurance, but in mountain biking in particular, you're not trying to ride the course fast, you're trying to ride the course less slow. And to do that, you want to conserve energy in the spots within the course that are easiest. So when the course gets easier, you work easier. When the course gets harder, you work as hard as is necessary to get over the obstacle of the course and no harder. The second you work harder than the course is throwing at you is the second that the course stops you. Okay? Consider that in your training. A lot of experienced mountain bikers know this and practice this in advance. A lot of inexperienced mountain bikers, they think about it like a road event. I'm just going to keep a nice consistent pace from point 0 to 100 miles on the Shenandoah. That's not going to happen. You're going to go from 500 watts output to get over an obstacle to 0, back to 500, back to 0. The stochastic nature of mountain biking can be extreme, and a lot of people's bodies don't handle it well because they don't practice that huge change in energy output. You get on a road or gravel bike, and in general, you have a much more consistent flow of energy. That's much easier to attain and repeat, okay? Because your body finds a rhythm, it finds a tempo. Depending on the mountain bike course, you could get thrown tempo changes every couple seconds. And that can be really tough on your body to understand because it's using different types of contraction between type 1 fibers, type 2 fibers, type 2A fibers to get over these obstacles. And we want to train that whole stratosphere, that whole spectrum of energy out so you can get through that course. I would recommend Cyclo 90 Masters as your base program, even if you're starting late. I would recommend the Cyclo 90 climbing and the Cyclo 90 Enduro in-season mountain bike plans for your lead into Shenandoah. If I was going to Shenandoah, which I may be, I'm still not sure, I would use those two programs. And they're tough. They are going to knock you on your ass in advance. And then they're going to taper you in, and you should come in not just with more fitness, but the practice and the discipline to flatten that course. So 12,000 feet or plus of vertical gain on the Shenandoah Trails there for 100 miles with temperate weather. I mean, it could be really, they've had pouring down rain, they've had liquid heat. I mean, it can be a tough course, a really tough course. I've had customers that I've trained for that course. And I grew up in the area, so I'd love to get back down there and try that. You want to be ready for the unexpected. You want to be ready where your brain is going to break down at some point during the ride. It's inevitable. In fact, if you don't break down, don't show up for the course. The whole point of the course to me is to throw you this curveball that makes you a different person. That to me what it is endurance riding. You want to practice that in your training when possible. Last question is from Sarah. Sarah's asking about using HIIT sessions inside. So she's using, Grandma, use your Cyclo 90 Masters and I've become addicted to the HIIT workouts using them with the Trainer Road Power Profiles. Remember, I've got the Trainer Road Power Profiles for all of my HIIT 30 and 40 sessions posted on there for use with my video. So I coach you through the video, and at the same time you're able to monitor your virtual power, heart rate, speed, cadence, everything that can help you learn what we're doing inside to bring outside for the in-ride workouts on the bike. Her question is, however, outside I don't have a power meter, I only have a heart rate monitor. What should I do for training for endurance rides? I have a double century coming up in 3 months. First of all, calculate, Sarah, and everyone else that's doing this, calculate your FTP, both with virtual power if you have it. Again, with Trainer Road, you can use virtual power. You don't have to have a power meter to do that. Go to their website to go learn how to do that. During the HIIT sessions, you want to calculate your FTP, your functional threshold power, and correlate that to your functional threshold heart rate, okay? So if you find out that your functional threshold power is 200 watts, and your heart rate in the area is between, 150 and 160 beats per minute, okay? That's your range of zone 4. Your endurance rides, especially for a double, your heart rate should never exceed, not once, if possible, 160, ever, during the course. In fact, really, you'd be better off to not exceed 154, 155 for the entire course, no matter how long it is. The reason why is during an endurance course, we want to burn 0 matches if possible. 0. We want to be strong enough to almost burn a match, almost get into our threshold, but never get into that zone. By staying on this side, especially this little gray area, that zone 3 plus area right here we've talked about so many times, the closer you stay within that range, hour after hour after hour, not only will you be able to continue longer, you should do that at a very sustainable, hard pace. These things take practice. If I ask most riders to go out and ride for 3 hours at their zone 3 plus heart rate range just below threshold, I guarantee 99% of them will fail. The reason they'll fail is they think they have to work hard, or they have to ride enough miles in advance to do that. What they're really not seeing is, to make that happen, you have to seam together muscular endurance, pedal technique, efficiency, aerodynamics, core strength, the use of all your muscles through the pedal stroke, not just your quadriceps, but the hamstrings and glutes. And when this thing comes together as a unit, now I can extend how long I'm efficient at this rate. It's the efficiency that decides your endurance. Your fatigue resistance decides your endurance. If you resist fatigue poorly because your efficiency on the bike is low, you will not be a good endurance rider. A good endurance rider has the ability to maintain good form, good function, hour after hour after hour, and more importantly, when life and Mother Nature and Lady Luck throw their obstacles at you. They throw the kitchen sink at you. Well, I didn't expect it to be pouring down rain today. I didn't expect it to be 104 degrees today. I didn't expect it at the water station today. There was no water left, and I'm already out of fuel, and it's another hour before the next checkpoint. This is endurance riding. And again, you want to pre-practice that in advance. Use your heart rate monitor outside, and now you've got, I call it a high and low. So that means for my ride, I want to be between probably 130 beats per minute and no higher than 150 beats per minute. That range, that 20 beat range, is my area of focus for the entire ride. Are you going to have times where it drops below 130? Sure. If you got a long extended descent that lasts for 20 minutes, yeah, it's probably going to drop below 130. So what? Not a big deal. In general, what we're looking for, the averages, is that corridor. As you get better and stronger, what we're looking for is that corridor to get tighter and tighter and tighter. A seasoned rider should be able to stay within a plus or minus 5 range of their zone 3 plus heart rate. So if zone 3 plus heart rate is 150 beats per minute, you should be able to keep a package between 145 and 155. That is that very tight 10 beat range for an indefinite amount of time with the proper fueling. That to me is a seasoned rider. An inexperienced rider is falling out of those phases in heart rate all the time. And because of that, they're bumping up to 160, 165, back down to 120. When you take your heart and your body and you throw it like this, you cause problems. When you train it with training to do this, flatten the course and flatten your energy across the boards, now you're hitting PRs, you're crushing courses. Remember, all 100 milers, 100 plus miler, is a long time trial. I tell people this all the time, they still just don't quite get it. No, it's an endurance ride. Yeah, it's an endurance time trial. You want to get from point A to point B, which is 100 miles away from here, 200 miles away, it's a time trial. Granted, you're not on a TT bike, you don't have the helmet, you don't have the aero wheels, none of that matters. You're not looking to do threshold and above, you're looking to do zone 3 sustained for a long time. I mean a long time. And every obstacle in between. And by thinking about it that way, you're much more likely to get from point A to point B. Because by thinking about it that way for me, and I'll finish here, anytime my heart rate is, I'm looking down and saying, oh shit, it's at 165, or my power is at 450, and my threshold is only 320. Bing, 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 that's a problem. Because I'm at hour 3, and I got to get to hour 8. If I keep burning the matches here, I'm going to have to pay back that debt. At some point today, I'm going to have to pay back that debt. And this is probably one of the biggest mistakes, and I'll finish with this, that most riders will make in relation to endurance is not keeping their eye on the ball. Not looking at the big picture from here to here. They get to here, and they get all juiced up and excited. I feel like Superman today. I'm going to spike the power. I'm going to go off the front. I'm going to grab that segment from Strava at hour 2 or hour 3. Fine, go ahead. I'll see you at hour 7 vomiting on the side of the road or crying. And trust me, I've seen it. In fact, I've been that person on the side of the road. I said, what happened? Everything fell apart. I did so much training. I feel like crap. I must not be fit enough. No, just means that you exerted energy at the wrong time and in the wrong way. We got to discipline ourselves to not do that. My friend, I hope these tips are helpful. If you're looking for a program to get started with me, a lot of you newbies, please start with the Cycle 90 base program. Most of my veteran level riders or season level riders, Cycle 90 Masters is the better choice. And of those of you looking to target specifics For intensity, endurance, climbing, or otherwise, look to the Cycle 90 in-season protocol. These are tough programs, all designed to help you work on all the things we talked about today and beyond. I've also got some new coaching modules coming out, basically one-on-one coaching with me per user, based on each pragmatic of endurance cycling, gravel grinding, mountain bike riding, multi-day riding, racing, everything you need step by step to take the training that I've already got in existence and make it your own. Till we speak again, on a smile on your face, I'll talk to you soon.